You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for February the 9th. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How you doing?
Good morning, Al. Oh my God, February the 9th already.
Already, that's right. Valentine's Day is this week.
Craziness.
And actually, this coming weekend is a long weekend.
It is.
Yeah.
Middle of February this weekend.
That's right. Yeah, Family Day here in Ontario. I don't know what you call it down there in Nova Scotia.
Heritage Day here in Nova Scotia.
Is it? Yeah, so we won't be live next Monday, but we're here today and we're live, and we got 8 stories to bring everybody. And while we're discussing things, so forget to hit the like and subscribe button so that you know that we are coming on and we have more cannabis news or psychedelic news for you. So
Yeah.
All right.
Shall you going?
Let's get going. Let's get at her.
Let's get going. First story of the day is coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine. Frenchman imprisoned for cannabis trafficking charges in Malaysia has been acquitted. An international cannabis case with life and death stakes has taken a dramatic turn, according to I lost my place. According to Mugglehead, my bad, I'm so sorry. A Frenchman who has been imprisoned in Malaysia on cannabis trafficking charges and faced the possibility of a death penalty has now been fully acquitted by the Malaysian courts. And you might remember that Al and I reported on this story a while ago when it all first happened. The man has been accused of trafficking cannabis into the country, where drug laws are among the harshest in the world. In Malaysia, cannabis is treated the same as heroin or cocaine, and trafficking convictions can carry mandatory death sentences. He spent months behind bars as his case slowly moved through the legal system. However, the court ultimately found the prosecutors failed to prove he had knowledge or intent to traffic the cannabis. With insufficient evidence tying him directly to the cannabis found, the judge ruled that the burden of proof had not been met and ordered his release. That doesn't change their laws, but at least he's released. The case highlights the extreme risks travelers face in countries with zero tolerance drug policies. Even as cannabis is legalized and normalized in much of the world these days, some nations still enforce laws rooted in strict prohibition with consequences that can be fatal. For the global cannabis community, this acquittal is a rare but powerful reminder of the uneven legal landscape around the plant around the world, and how freedom of punishment can depend entirely on geography. I don't know if you remember reporting on this when he was first arrested, Al. And I'm beyond grateful to find out that they haven't been able to get the proof needed, and he gets released and he'll be back in France hopefully by the end of the week. But that doesn't stop the fact that Malaysia has a death penalty for a
death
plant.
penalty. Same with Singapore and other countries. They have the death penalty for cannabis, and people wonder, well, why do we still need to do things like global marijuana marches and be voice, be a loud voice for people on the cannabis scene and even psychedelics, is because of laws like that.
Yeah, it's it's scary that this is happening, that people are being killed for something that is grown from, the Mother Earth. Like it's given to us by, whatever your beliefs are, it's given to us by the universe, by the creator, by God, by the earth. Like, I mean, it's a natural substance that has been used for a millennia to help people, especially with pain. And
and turn around and give people a death sentence.
Yeah.
For that. That's why you got to keep speaking up. Keep saying things.
And that's why we do keep speaking up.
Exactly. All right, we're going to move from that story. We're going to move on to a sports-related story, Cindy. And that's because right now, as everybody knows, the Olympics are going on, right? So this next story, it comes to us from Business of College Sports. Headline says, 5 ways cannabis can benefit athletic recovery. Says that athletes aren't hiding their cannabis use anymore. The NFL changed its marijuana rules in 2020. The NBA players post about CBD on social media. The NCAA removed cannabis from its banned drug list in 2024. Even Olympic policies shifted. Those around college sports are watching these changes closely, and they say the administrators want facts, not hype. Athletes are already experimenting during off seasons. Some ordered cannabis from the Herb Center in states where it's legal. The question isn't whether cannabis works for recovery. It's how athletic departments will respond. Talk to any college athlete. They'll tell you about the pain, knees that ache after practice, shoulders that throb from repetitive throwing, lower backs that scream after lifting sessions. Most reach for ibuprofen. Some get prescribed something stronger, but opiates come with scary risks. Addiction ruins careers and lives. NSAIDs tear up your stomach over time. Cannabis works differently. Your body already has cannabinoid receptors. THC plugs into CB1 receptors in your brain and nerves. Pain signals get turned down. CBD goes after inflammation instead of blocking pain directly. Now, here are the five things that they mentioned. Number 1, pain management without opioids. Talk to any college athlete, as I mentioned, that their knees, the shoulders, and all that will throb and everything. So the second one is the reduced inflammation after faster healing. They said hard training tears muscle fibers. That's how you get stronger, but inflammation can stick around too long and your recovery stalls. Next week's training suffers. They say that CBD, as I mentioned, cuts the inflammation, so on and so forth. Number 3, better quality of sleep for recovery. Sleep is where recovery actually happens. Growth hormones floods your system. Damaged tissue gets rebuilt. Missed sleep and your performance tanks. Number 4, stress and anxiety reduction. Say competition pressure breaks some athletes. The talent is there, the body is ready, but their mind won't cooperate. Performance anxiety is real and common. CBD interacts with serotonin receptors. Anxiety drops without sedation. You stay sharp and focused. And number 5, muscle relaxation and tension relief. Tight muscles are injury magnets. They limit your range of motion. Recovery slows down. Flexibility training goes so far. The cannabis relaxes muscles through multiple pathways. THC works like prescription muscle relaxers, and CBD reduces the inflammation causing tightness. Together, they keep muscles loose and ready. There you go. Cannabis.
Cannabis for the win.
Yeah. So, how they used to always joke about, cannabis being how can they say cannabis is a improvement thing when it comes to athletes, when, checking them for banned substances. And in the past, they did it because it was an illegal substance, basically worldwide. But now, showing all these benefits, could they turn around and say that it's, something that shouldn't be used because of it can help athletes?
Well, in that case, we should be taking all painkillers and anti-inflammatories off of the market for athletes. Like, I mean, if cannabis isn't going to be allowed, then neither should Tylenol or ibuprofen or 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 or.
Well, yeah.
You know, I can continue on with that. You know, and I told you before we started that, you know, this was probably going to trigger a thought for me. And you know, it did. I mean, I think to Ross Robigliotti, who I've interviewed on this station on a different podcast a few years ago. And Ross came on and talked about, we talked about how he lost his mettle due to cannabis, like testing positive for cannabis, why he used cannabis, you know, and, you know, he was telling us how he used it for pain after a practice. And, you know, he didn't get stoned and then go out on the hill. He would do his runs and then he would use it for pain afterwards. He talked about how he used LSD in his training because it was something that gave him, it gave him, you know, it just made him better. He was able to go longer with less pain and less stress. He was able to focus on his training versus everything else. So yeah, like this is something that I've seen and I've interviewed people about for the last few years. And it's nice to see, everybody finally starting to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, time for us to move on to the next story.
Yes, we are going to move on to the International Cannabis Business Conference. And here we're going to take a look at a study that finds no effects after German cannabis legalization. This is really cool. 1 year after Germany moved forward with major cannabis reform, new data suggests the impact may be more muted than critics predicted. According to International Cannabis Business Conference, a large-scale study has found no significant negative social effects following Germany's partial legalization of cannabis. Researchers examined indicators like crime rates, youth use, hospital visits, and public disorder, and found no measurable increase tied to the policy change. In other words, the fears of widespread chaos and addiction spikes or public health crisis have not materialized. And I'm not shocked. Germany's reform model allows adults to possess limited amounts of cannabis and participate in nonprofit cannabis clubs. The study suggests that moving cannabis out of the shadows and into the regulated framework may reduce harm rather than increase it. Supporters say the findings strengthen the case for evidence-based drug cannabis policy, where laws are shaped by data instead of fear. While Germany's rollout is still evolving, early results show that legalization doesn't automatically lead to social breakdown and may instead normalize safer, more responsible use. This research is likely to influence other European countries watching closely as they consider their own cannabis reforms. And it may be a slow rollout, Al, but they are at least rolling it out and trying to pay attention and be honest with what's happening. You know, modern day people that haven't paid attention to the history of this plant, they don't know. So as long as you're taking steps forward while you're learning, I'm all for it.
Now I see here in the article, they mentioned that first-time cannabis use among young people is declining for the first time since 2002.
Yeah.
You know, they always worry about, oh, you know, you make it legal, it's gonna, you know, everybody's gonna smoke it, and all these kids are gonna get it, and blah blah blah. But as we're seeing in so many different countries, that youth consumption rates either steady or gone down.
Yep.
Yeah. All righty. From that story, we're gonna head to the next one, and that's the last one before we go to break. This one's coming to us from StratCan, and the headline on that one says that Alberta cannabis growers call for tax revenue reinvestment regulatory reform. Now, cannabis growers say that the Alberta government needs to do more to help the industry thrive in the province, despite the provincial government having received more than $1 billion, that's with the B, from its share of cannabis taxes since the legalization. They haven't got, you know, there hasn't been any benefit. Now, according to Josh Gadowski, the owner of Everest Cannabis in Elk Point, Alberta, he says that there has been little information on how that revenue has been spent. Some of the revenue, he argues, should be making its way back to the struggling cannabis industry, Although Alberta has some of the highest per capita cannabis sales in the country, the number of companies setting up shop in the province is significantly lower than in other provinces such as BC. Now, in addition to raking in 75 cents of every dollar of excise tax the government collects on wholesale cannabis sales into Alberta, Alberta also has the second highest duty rate for cannabis in Canada at basically 17%, and an additional 4% markup for all cannabis sold in the province. Now, that 17% rate, notes Gadwowski, was put in place by the previous provincial NDP government, something the owner of Everest Cannabis says could be a good chance for the current Alberta government to reverse that. He goes on to say that all we want as Alberta cannabis growers and processors is for some of that to come back to us in the form of grants and loans to expand production, because it's tough here. Grants or loans could be for operations for small businesses, production capacity increases, and local staffing. Grants or loans could also cover the cost of export permits and associated costs of exporting to other provinces and countries. Now, Landon Yarmuch, the master grower at and co-founder of another Alberta cannabis producer, Partake Cannabis, agrees that the government could do more to help companies like his. In addition to providing funding or grants, he also notes changes to provincial regulations could help. He says from Partake's perspective, Alberta could use a portion of cannabis excise revenue to strengthen the industry by reinvesting it into targeted programs that lower costs and support growth. And he says that this could include grants or matching funds for facility upgrades, automation, and energy efficiency. Now, he also, Gadwowski at Everest, adds that his issue with tax revenue comes down to the provincial government, which sets the tax rates, not the provincial regulator. The Alberta Gaming and License or Liquor and Cannabis says that rather than forcing some Alberta cannabis producers to seek markets in other provinces or even overseas, he believes that Alberta has a chance to encourage a thriving cannabis industry. He adds that this is not a federal or Health Canada issue. The province collects the vast majority of tax revenue on cannabis and has the power to help the domestic industry. Alberta-based cannabis producers shouldn't have to subsidize operations here by operating elsewhere. So there we go. Alberta wants a little bit more freedom in their businesses. And we're hearing constantly about excise tax. It's always being brought.
I seem to read that a little differently. I see that as like the licensed producers that are out there, like making their own money on their cannabis. So they're growing it for let's just pick a number because it's easy, $1 a gram. They're selling it for $3 a gram. So they're already making 200% profit, and they're whining that they want more money from the government. You know, that government money can go into helping people that are fighting addiction, helping people that are fighting homelessness, helping people that are fighting being hungry. And I think that we should concentrate on that first. But the Alberta government, before it even gets to the federal side, is charging 16.8, but 17% taxes before we even get to the federal side of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So they're making lots of money there, too.
They're making a crap ton of money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, as it mentions, $1 billion. Big B on there.
And yeah, that's just on the provincial side of it.
Yeah. And, you know, as a lot of advocates are saying, where's that money going?
Where is it going? I may not agree that it should go back to the LPs, but where the F is it going? What are you doing with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I was part of a panel for the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission here in Nova Scotia a few weeks ago. And they were trying to figure out their new, they're looking for advice from the public on their new advertising scheme. And what they were showing us was just, I mean, it was basically taking Reefer Madness as a movie and breaking it up into commercials is basically what they were showing us straight up. And I told the guy that, I'm like, this is what you're doing. I said, if you're recording this for the people at the LC to hear and read and do all that, I'm going to tell you what you're doing is just basic fear mongering. It's stupid, it's pathetic, and it's childish. What you should do if you really want somebody like myself, who is a very large cannabis user, I use it on a regular basis. If you want me to leave the indigenous people in the dust, you got to do what they do. Tell me where you're taking your profits and what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Introduce me to your growers. Show me the products that you're selling. Tell me why that Bubba Kush grown by ABC producer is the best Bubba Kush there is to buy. Yeah. Tell me that. Do it without the negativity of shitting on everything else and telling me how bad this plant is. Why would I come and buy it from you if all you're going to throw at me is negatives?
Oh, and negatives left and right. They just
never end. Show me where the money's going. Give me a commercial that shows me what you're doing with the taxes that Nova Scotia is collecting.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Why not? Why not do a promotion, a PSA? Just let people know where the money's gone to in order to help improve things on.
That's what the Indigenous do here. The Indigenous stores here, the way that they are set up is they have to give a certain percentage of their profits back to the reserves, where they get used for education and to help people eat, to help people pay bills. That's what it's used for, to build their community. So show me how the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission is building Nova Scotia, or how the Ontario cannabis is building Ontario. Show me that. Show me where my money is going, and you'll be more apt to get it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think a lot of it just goes into a slush fund and it just goes wherever. So yeah. All right, time for us to take a break. That's the first half of our show. We'll come back after the break to do our second half. Other than that, you're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Education here at 420pace.ca and paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back. You're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Educational News. 4 more stories to go. And Cindy's got the first story. She's up.
Yeah. Coming to us from Hospice News, a psychedelic renaissance in end-of-life care. This caught my eye because I work with a nurse who is a palliative nurse. There is a growing movement in palliative and hospice medicine that is quietly reshaping how we think about death, dying, and emotional suffering at the end of life. According to Hospice News, researchers and clinicians are increasingly exploring psychedelic-assisted therapy, particularly with psilocybin and MDMA, as a tool to help terminally ill patients process fear, grief, and existential distress. For decades, end-of-life care has focused primarily on managing physical pain, but many patients also face deep psychological and spiritual suffering, anxiety about death, unresolved trauma, loss of meaning. Studies now suggest that a single carefully guided psychedelic experience can significantly reduce depression and anxiety in people facing terminal illnesses, sometimes with effects lasting months or longer. The article highlights how institutions are beginning to take this research seriously. Universities, nonprofit research groups, and hospice organizations are partnering to develop ethical therapeutic models that combine psychedelics with counseling, spiritual support, and medicinal oversight. In these settings, the medicine isn't just about symptom relief. It's about helping people come to terms with mortality and reconnect with life while they still have time. While regulatory barriers still exist, the momentum is undeniable. Once fringe is becoming part of mainstream medical conversations. For many advocates, this represents a true renaissance, one that treats dying not just as a medical event, but as a profoundly human experience worthy of compassion, dignity, and psychological care. I 100% agree with this. It's something that came to light for me in the second Dosed movie that was produced here in Canada. Not, and I watched the movie because, I know the people that made the movie. I've got friends that were part of the documentary, but it followed this lady who was given a date. She has cancer. So a few years ago, after they did Dosed 1 following addiction, they did Dosed 2 following somebody facing death and the anxieties around that. And they wanted to show how psilocybin can help somebody face that, and not just the person themselves facing it, but their family. And meanwhile, while they were doing this, somebody prepared and helped her dose with cannabis oil, FICO, to help physically fight the cancer. So a combination of helping her change her mind with psilocybin and helping her fight the cancer that she had with FICO. They were expecting to lose her before they put the movie out. And the movie's been out for a couple of years now, and she's still with us.
Wow. That's right. It shows the power.
It's pretty powerful. So yeah, she, she's a walking, talking proof of how this medicine can not just make your acceptance of what is coming and your life better, but the plant medicine, the FICO, can help extend your life and put your cancer into remission. So yeah, like it's, these medicines are really important. I've watched my mother pass away and my grandmother pass away, and there is a fear of what is next. And working with these medicines can help alleviate that fear and make the transition a little bit more beautiful.
Yeah, I anything to help with that transition, psychedelics. Like yet again, why make people suffer when you don't have to?
Exactly.
Why not make end of life care with psychedelics if it can help people who have major anxiety over? Why make them suffer their last days on in here on the earth when they can do it?
And it's beyond that, helping the family and friends of the person who's transitioning. And once we lose somebody, we're struck with grief. And it can become very debilitating, life-threatening for some people, life-stopping for others. And I don't mean, when I say life-stopping, I don't mean death. I mean that they just go into such a depression that everything stops. And a psychedelic therapy can help deal with that grief and find the connections that they still have with the person that they've lost.
Exactly. So, alrighty, from that story, we move on to our next one. This one's coming to us from Marijuana Moment, and the headline on it says DEA promotes anti-marijuana PSA contest, inviting students to warn peers about THC dangers on 420. Of all days, 420. Now, the DEA is teaming up with an anti-marijuana group to promote a public service announcement contest pegged to 420, inviting high school students to submit videos about why the use of cannabis is harmful for the developing brain, mental health, and your life. The contest is an opportunity for high schools to demonstrate how students are working to prevent cannabis misuse at their school and to encourage their peers to abstain. A notice about the contest, organized by Johnny's Ambassadors, says, as with the past PSA initiatives from the group, it made clear that that video submitted for consideration should not imitate the use of cannabis, THC, or paraphernalia of any kind, even as a joke. And that's in bold words, people. Any content which suggests, depicts, promotes, or positions THC product of any THC product is prohibited. It says adding that no swearing or defamatory language is allowed. In general, the videos for the contest, which opened late last month and closes on April the 13th, are meant to be educational, aimed at informing fellow students about why young people shouldn't use THC products such as vapes, dabs, cannabis, and the edibles such as gummies, etc. Now, personal stories about people being impacted by THC use are also welcome. The group provides samples of the kind of content they're looking for, including PSAs on why THC impacts athletic performance on a team, debunking a commonly held but incorrect myth about THC, and startling statistics about cannabis use. The first place winner will receive $500. Second place gets $250, and the third place gets $100. The winners will be announced on Instagram on April the 20th, and which, as we know, is the big holiday for cannabis. And it's just, to me, Cindy, it's just more of the same old fear-mongering things. They mentioned they want some reports, some actual reports of people dealing with the effects of THC. Wouldn't it be nice if someone turns around and puts in something like we were talking about in the previous story about how the benefits of cannabis and how somebody defeated cancer or had their life extended by cancer?
I was going to say, yeah, dosed. They did everything with no swearing, no defamatory, no any of it, and it highlights more than just this cannabis, right? Yeah. I find that interesting. I find that like we all swear. Like I'm an ex-sailor. Like I'm an ex-army. I'm a veteran. And one of the first two things that I was taught how to do, long before they gave me a rifle, was I learned how to swear. And then they put a beer in one hand and a swearing dictionary in the other. I honest to God, like it was. Those are the first bits of education that you get, and then you get put in basic training. So swearing isn't one that bothers me, but the lies and the negativity and the putting down, that's not coming from us as cannabis users. That's coming from the other side, the anti. That's where the lies are coming from. That's where it's like I talked about that commercial thing that I was involved in for the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission. I mean, it was literally they took Reefer Madness, the movie, and cut it up into commercials. It was all about, putting the indigenous side down, the gray area down, and we're all bad, we're all criminals, we're all blah. And we don't need to do that. Like, I mean, we really, really don't need to do that. Like, not that I'm into politics or anything, but like, this is the reason I'm not into politics. I used to follow politicians when they were all about, this is what I stand for, this is how I can make changes, look at all this positive stuff. But now they're about, that person's just terrible, and all they want to do is, and it's kind of, that political thinking has fallen over to everything else. And
attack. It's the unfortunate part. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Going from that, cannabis, being bad stuff, so
terrible stuff. All right. On to the next story. It's coming to us from cannabis.net. And this one caught my eye, and I hummed and I hawed about whether or not I was going to use it. I took all night to think about it, actually. We can ask Al when we come back. He didn't get the story until this morning. CBD amplifies the effects of THC. And this is being claimed by a new medical study. It caught my eye and I had to read it. I found it quite interesting. It made me think of all the different times I've used CBD, how I've used it, and what the effects are, but I'll get into that in a minute. A new medical study is challenging a long-held belief about CBD and THC. According to Cannabis.net, researchers now say that CBD may actually amplify the effects of THC rather than mellowing them out, depending on dose and ratio. I dose ratio and how you dose, I think, is a big part of it. For years, CBD has been marked as the calming counterbalance to THC's psychoactive effects. But this new research suggests the interaction is more complex. At certain levels, CBD appears to increase how strongly THC binds to brain receptors. This really made me think, potentially making the high feeling stronger, not weaker. The study also found that CBD may prolong the duration of THC's effect by slowing its breakdown in the body. This means products combining both cannabinoids could hit harder and last longer than consumers expect. This has big implications for medical patients and recreational users alike. It highlights the importance of understanding cannabinoid ratios and not assuming that CBD will always soften THC's impact. As cannabis science evolves, so does our understanding of how these compounds really work together, and why informed, intentional use matters more than ever. I don't know about you, Al, but when I read this story, I'm thinking about, all the different times I've used CBD and how I've used it. I've intentionally used it while smoking, so I would dab CBD to bring myself down because I'm still too high to drive and I want to get home. And it's worked in low doses. And then when I was reading this story, I was thinking about, the other day, I did take a THC gummy, and then I took a bunch of CBD later, and I took higher doses. So I probably took about 400 milligrams of CBD, about an hour and a half later. And expecting my very little bit of a high, because I didn't take a lot of THC, to come down. And there was no way I was driving when that CBD hit. Like, I got high.
You did, eh? Okay. Well,
oh yeah.
I see in the story here that they say that the researchers observed the smaller doses of CBD, which is 10 to 30 milligrams, did not significantly alter THC's effects. However, when participants took a dose of CBD at 450 milligrams alongside a smaller dose of THC, this experienced significantly increased the effects. Yeah, and there you're mentioning about 400
real world experience that when as I was reading the story and prepping for our show, I was just like, oh, that's why I was so much higher. Like, holy, I only took 20 milligrams of THC. But then, like I say, while the THC was still active, I pumped a crap ton of CB because I was all swollen and sore from my fall, and I wanted to help that swelling. And then, and I couldn't understand why I felt so high afterwards. And this story kind of like gave me a different way to look at it. So this is also, I compared my low dose THC was inhaling, and I'm not sure if the inhalation is different than the taking of it.
Yeah.
That was another question.
Yeah, they didn't mention, did they?
No, it seems to me that they're talking about ingesting, about eating it. And, that kind of made sense to me. So I'm just wondering if the inhalation, if it was really the fact that we were doing low doses, or if it was the inhalation of it that worked to bring that THC under control.
Yeah, I'm just taking a quick look here. Yeah, I'm not seeing how they did the test. So
yeah, it didn't really go into how they did it for sure. So I was just, the feel of it to me was they were ingesting it.
Yeah, just maybe the little vibe you got from the story. All right, talking about stories, time for us to move on to the last story of the day. And this one is coming to us from Mugglehead magazine. Headline there says, weed-loving musician Willie Nelson raises $15 million for hemp THC drinks brand. Story says, country music legend Willie Nelson has been channeling his passion for the cannabis plant into the booming business venture. Across the United States, his hemp-derived THC drinks, Willie's Remedy, have been selling like hotcakes. More than 400,000 bottles have been purchased since the drink line launched in partnership with June Shine Brands in March of 2025, making it one of the top-selling cannabinoid beverages in the country. Now, with a projected inaugural run rate of $80 million, Nelson just announced that his company has raised $15 million to help expand the brand's the reach even further. His distaste for alcohol has been a key factor fueling his ambitions with the seltzers. The singer and guitarist aims to offer a libation that gives a gentle buzz without morning hangover regrets. He says, I gave up alcohol and tobacco a long time ago and switched to pot. And he says that when he's releasing a round led by Left Lane Capital. Now, he says that cannabis should be recognized for what it is, a remedy. I'm excited to share my remedy with the world. Now, just so you know, this isn't Willie's first rodeo with the THC business endeavor. In 2015, he created Willie's Reserve, which still offers flower, edibles, and other goods today. This latest venue has helped to cement Nelson's throne as one of the world's most famous cannabis enthusiasts. The 92-year-old's reputation has grown since the 1970s through unapologetic advocacy and weaving cannabis into his music and persona. So there you go. Willie's raising money and selling lots of beverages. Oh, what's that you got there? Just say, oh, Willie's Reserve. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I have
It's empty. Yeah, you've got some.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Because they started selling like empty things online and paraphernalia and whatnot. Right. So I was able to get at least a piece of Willie Nelson's LP one way or another. Even if it's non-cannabis related, I still got it. I can carry my cannabis in it.
Yeah, obviously he's doing very well with his beverage line, and I've thought the same line. Like, cannabis beverages for people who don't drink alcohol, wanting to have a beverage instead of a water or a pop. Why not have a THC beverage? For sure.
Yeah, it's it's sad to say, but it's hard for somebody who uses cannabis to go out to a bar and feel like part of the crowd, which is pretty pathetic. I mean, I don't, I've come far enough in my healing now to know that I can go to a bar and play pool or enjoy a band. But, I'm not a big, huge, massive pop drinker to drink it all night. Like, I mean, like if I'm there, I might have one pop.
Right.
otherwise it's going to make me bloat and I'm going to feel gross. I don't really want that. So that leaves me with water at a bar.
Yeah. Yeah, and they want like a friggin' arm and a leg for a bottle of water.
$5 for like a 30-cent bottle of water. It's disgusting. Like, and so it would be nice to have that happen here in Canada, where things can be legalized to a point where if we walk into a bar, we should be allowed to at least drink our cannabis. Like if you want to stick us outside for vaping or smoking, that's fine, because not everybody likes that smell in their face. But yeah, they should accommodate some of us as well, the ones that don't want to drink. Like, we're evolving with our healing these days and what we use and what we don't use. So, it's time to make that known all the way around.
Yeah, exactly. I have company. Can you hear him? Yeah.
I thought it was my cats at first.
Somebody wants outside.
Oh, somebody's yelling.
Yeah, exactly. And a shout out to James. Thanks for tuning in, James. I see you got a message there from you. James had sent me a message through the Pace Network's YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook page, and mentioned about sharing our stuff on within his group on Facebook.
And then we did get another comment, which I got a kick out of. I laughed when I read it. It sounds like when we were talking about something earlier, sounds like a pothead trying to rationalize using cannabis. Absolutely. I am a proud pothead, and I will rationalize using cannabis to anybody who wants to listen, and in hopes help them or their family members find their way to a healthy life.
Yeah, exactly. Now, James says that whoever owns an establishment, I am a beer drinker, toker, psychedelics, and paying something. His sentence doesn't end. It ends there. And paying something. So he's into psychedelics as well. Oh, here we go. Do as you will on your own land, he says. So, all right. Anything else offhand?
Ooh, I don't think so. I am. We have a podcast on Thursday. We have Monday off. And then I'm heading to Ontario. I'm heading to your neck of the woods next week.
That's right. Friday. Yeah, you are. You are heading to Ontario. That's right. Coming my way. Hopefully the weather is good for your visit here. I do know that this coming week is going to be nice temperature-wise, but I don't know about the week that you're coming. I haven't looked that far ahead.
Fingers crossed it's not too bad. We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. That's it for today. We hope you found it educational and informative. Thanks go out to everybody who's tuned into the broadcast and to our sponsors, Limestone City, Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca. We'll see you Thursday. And other than that, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. I got something in my way in the screen here, so I can't close out the show, but I got it gone now. All right, see you all.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.